Welcome everyone, this is Honest Restart. So lately, some of you or many of you may have heard of the rumors that a new Donkey Kong game is coming to the Nintendo Switch, and it could even be coming out this year. Now, initially, these rumors spoke of the Mario Odyssey team working on this game. Now, more recently, the rumors have more specifically simply referred to Nintendo EPD, which works on a whole bunch of things, not just Mario, so it may not be clear if it's just the Mario team itself or some sort of variation of it. But regardless, this has sort of brought into question the status of Mario. When will we see the next big Mario game? Super Mario Odyssey came out in 2017. We are now in 2021, and what they accomplished with Mario Odyssey was very impressive. The game sold over 20 million copies. It is the best-selling 3D Mario of all time. It is one of the highest reviewed games on the Nintendo Switch, and what they did with that game, that engine, with the platform mechanics and all, and Cappy, is astounding. I would argue even innovative when it comes to how we sort of envision 3D platformers moving forward. So with that in mind, and with maybe what the Mario team is working on now being a Donkey Kong game, what does that suggest for the future of Super Mario, or maybe even a sequel to Super Mario Odyssey? That's what we're talking about today. Now, before we jump into things, let me very quickly talk about my social media. You may see a few different things here on screen. You can check that all out. It's linked in the description below. And of course, if you like what you're seeing here, you can subscribe. So right off the bat, because it is a rumor, you have to take this with a grain of salt. The Donkey Kong rumor may not be true. There may be no Donkey Kong game in the works, and it may simply be the case that the Mario Odyssey team has been working on the next big 3D Mario game, and we may even see news on that this year. It has been a few years. We haven't seen their work since 2017. So maybe that's what's happening here. Although I gotta tell you, the sources for this Donkey Kong are pretty good. They're coming from many different places, all with very good track records. And I've mentioned even myself that I've heard about this Donkey Kong thing, and when you consider that it's Donkey Kong's 40th anniversary, that there are plans to expand Super Nintendo World with a Donkey Kong expansion, and we've even seen this new Diddy Kong render, it does feel like maybe something is happening in the background, behind the scenes here. I do feel like it does make sense for us to get a new Donkey Kong game. At some point or another, we have to get it, so it does make sense. And when you think about the Odyssey team potentially being the team that's working on it, that also makes a lot of sense because, well, one, Mario and Donkey Kong have been closely connected. If you go back to the good old days, back when Nintendo was first getting into the West, the United States, the way they did it, they first started off with these radar scope arcade cabinets, but that wasn't doing really well. So they adapted and created Donkey Kong from those initial arcade cabinets, and Donkey Kong is what made Nintendo what it is today. That game exploded in popularity, and from Donkey Kong came Mario, Jumpman. So the two, Mario and Donkey Kong, throughout history have been closely intertwined and related. Donkey Kong is usually in most of the Mario games to some capacity when we're talking about spin-offs, and even in Mario Odyssey, there are quite a few references to Donkey Kong. So the Mario Odyssey team already has experience with the references and all, and you look at the gameplay switching between 3D and 2D. They even did that with 3D World and the Galaxy games, but if you go before that, they also made Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, a side-scrolling Donkey Kong game. So the Odyssey team is certainly equipped to make an appropriate platformer that is Donkey Kong. Now, according to the rumors, this won't be a game that will be based off the Country series. It'll be something different. Supposedly, it's going to be more of a 2D game or a 2.5D game, which I do find to be kind of interesting, because if it is actually the Odyssey team, considering the scope of their previous games, you would think they might do more than just a side-scroller. But there are a few things to consider here. One, this Donkey Kong game may be more than just a side-scroller. Perhaps it is more than just a 2D side-scroller. Maybe there are some 3D elements involved. Or maybe they're simply doing something crazy even with that 2 or 2.5D perspective. So we're not entirely sure of that. But another possibility here is that they're working on more than one game at once. It may not be entirely the case that it's the Odyssey team specifically that is working on this Donkey Kong game. Maybe they create a whole other new team within EPD to work on Donkey Kong. That's also a possibility here, and there could still be a Mario game in development right now. Another consideration to be had here is that if this is indeed a 2D Donkey Kong game, then that probably will not require as many resources, and they can soon after the release of this Donkey Kong game transition to the next big 3D Mario. That's also a possibility here. But what I would like to caution some of you who may be really excited at the possibility that the Odyssey team could have still been working on a new Mario game over the last few years is that I don't think we're going to be seeing it this year. And I would love to be wrong, because Super Mario is one of my favorite franchises. I love the 3D Mario games. I always 100% them. They are incredible games. Some of the best games of all time. But because we saw Super Mario 3D World earlier this year with that Bowser's Fury content, that alone makes me think that there isn't a 3D Mario game coming out this year. It just doesn't seem like the kind of content you would put out there if you had a big brand new Mario game coming out just a few months later. If it was just 3D World, sure, but the fact that they added a whole other campaign in Bowser's Fury, to me that suggests otherwise. Bowser's Fury is almost its own whole other Mario game. It's a shorter one, but it has its own mechanics and style, and it does get you thinking in terms of what sort of ideas the Mario team may have been working on in the background. Bowser's Fury could be indicative of a more open style for future Mario games, and that's very exciting. But either way, because of that, I am doubtful that they have a Mario game that's right around the corner. Not to mention, Bowser's Fury and 3D World were meant to be a release in celebration of Mario's 35th anniversary, and if there was a big Mario game that was right around the corner, why wouldn't they have shown that off during the Mario Anniversary Direct? Think about it, they were able to show off a teaser for Breath of the Wild 2 back in 2019. If they really had that big of a Mario game coming not too long after Mario's 35th anniversary, wouldn't they have at least teased it to some extent? So for those reasons, I am skeptical that a Mario game is right around the corner. And when you take into consideration that it may be the case that the Odyssey team is working on this new Donkey Kong game, it seems even more unlikely that Mario Odyssey 2 or what have you is coming out this year. That said, we don't entirely understand how Nintendo is utilizing their staff in EPD. They could have broken down the Odyssey team into two different teams. One could be working on Donkey Kong while the others are getting started on the next big Mario game. And then once the Donkey Kong people are done, maybe they'll become a dedicated Donkey Kong team, and then they'll simply build up the Mario team again, or maybe they'll come right back in. There's a number of different ways they can go about doing this. The point is that development studios can work on more than one game at once, sometimes several. But at the very least, I would say that yes, making a Donkey Kong game is going to require some resources, and that could very well slow down development for potentially related teams. But what about once we go beyond 2021? What's next? Is it possible Nintendo wants to save the next big 3D Mario to be a launch game for the next generation Switch? That is a possibility. We could be years away from the next big Mario game. Last year, Nintendo said that we were about halfway through the Switch's life cycle, so if last year we were around 3 to 3.5 years, I would say that, yeah, they're probably about 3.5 years more. So if we want to think of it like that, at this point, maybe we have about 2 to 3 years before we can start thinking about the next generation Switch. Nintendo is going to want to have some games ready for that time. One of the main reasons the Switch was so successful was because of all of the strong content they had to come out with the Switch in its first year. Breath of the Wild, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, ARMS, Pokken Tournament Deluxe, Fire Emblem Warriors, Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and Super Mario Odyssey. They had a stellar lineup for 2017. So as we draw closer to the inevitable end of the Switch's generation and the beginning of the life cycle of the Switch's successor, Nintendo will be continually planning and preparing for what that is. And we are around a time right now where they're going to have to start developing some games if they want them to be ready by the time that system is ready. So decisions will need to be made. Maybe that's why we saw 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, and we will be seeing this new Donkey Kong game. That's what the team is putting together now for this time in the Switch's life cycle, but that positions the Mario Odyssey team in a way where they'll be ready to bring up the next big 3D Mario about a couple years from now. That's one possibility. Another possibility here is that with the supposed Switch Pro or a new Nintendo Switch or Switch Plus, whatever it's going to be a bit of a rebrand and refresh for the system, and Nintendo may want to bring out the next installments for a lot of their big series so they can have somewhat of a second win to the Switch's lifespan. We're seeing Splatoon 3, we're seeing Breath of the Wild 2, we're seeing an open world Pokemon game in Legends Arceus. Maybe there are a few other big things like that around the horizon. Maybe a new Mario Kart game, maybe a new 3D Mario game. And maybe that big Mario game's coming out by holiday 2022, and maybe at that point Nintendo will be able to transition to the next big Mario game, and it won't be coming too far into the life cycle for Nintendo's next generation system, and they'll still be good to go in terms of having a strong launch year for when that does come out 2 to 3 years from now. This is certainly a possibility. That Odyssey team has to have been working on something since 2017, and I highly doubt that they've only been working on a side-scrolling Donkey Kong game, as exciting as it may be that we are getting a new installment in the Donkey Kong series. And as I mentioned earlier, when you take a look at Bowser's Fury, that could be indicative of some of the ideas they're experimenting with for the next big Mario game. We could be looking at a more open, more expansive and continuous world for the next big 3D Mario, something that's an evolution of the Odyssey style, and that could be incredibly exciting. But we'll have to see what happens in the future, only time will really tell. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think this rumor of a Donkey Kong game is real and that it's coming maybe this year? And if so, what does that suggest about the next big 3D Mario? Will we see a sequel to Odyssey 2 during the Switch's lifespan? Or will we have to wait until the next big Nintendo system before we get the next big 3D Mario game? Let me know in the comments below. This is On Just Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care.